Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology update for June 26th through July 3rd, 2023. Well, wow, we are living in intense times, aren't we? Can you feel it? And the astrological story confirms this. So let's talk it through. We are feeling today, the 26th of June, very powerful energy. We're coming off of this sextile, this epic sextile between Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Taurus. So the sextile between these game changer timeline adjuster planets that come together in conjunction about every 20 years, the sextile is opening us up to the possibilities of the miracles and the magic and the abundance is our true birthright. The sextile is saying, hey, you are the truth of this world. Therefore, you are abundant. You have everything within you. You are a microcosm. This is the information, the connection that was so completely blocked and stolen from us in the Piscean age. It's very interesting that Saturn in Pisces just turned retrograde on June 18th. So right as Saturn was coming into this sextile with Jupiter, and then Saturn turning retrograde. So it tells us what this Saturn retrograde is about. Saturn is at these planets in sextile at 7 degrees. Now Jupiter's beginning to move on, but we're still going to feel the effect of the sextile through the first week of July. So soak up the goodness, the magic, the love, the abundance. We are being shown who we really are, and we're being shown what's in the way of us feeling like we deserve it. So this whole sextile has an energy of like, we're trying to move into this getting out of the financial tyranny of being stolen from, traded as a commodity, and our energy being farmed from us as humans for so long. And yet, how can we shift into receiving back the abundance of who we are, Jupiter and Taurus, if we don't feel that we deserve it? Because Taurus also rules our self-worth. It's ruled by Venus. Now Venus is in Leo, coming up to a conjunction with Black Moon Lilith, the first conjunction of her retrograde story. And so Venus and Mars have both made these relationships here in Leo, both Mars and Venus in Leo, are masculine and are feminine in the sign of expression and creativity, an incredible empowerment of the fires within. So having this sextile, Jupiter sextile, Saturn sextile, it's like trying to expand us into the possibilities of feeling worthy of our own gifts of creation. We don't even know it's ours because it's been so manipulated away from us. And then once you figure out it's yours, we have to figure out how to reprogram our body, the fear programming and the low self-worth that keeps us from feeling like we can handle these energies. So the sextile is saying, can you handle it, humanity? This is the truth of who you are, and it's coming in like a freight train. We must be paid back what was stolen from us. So we better figure out how to deserve it, you know? And so incredibly powerful energies. And then Saturn taking a retrograde. And at 7 degrees, 7 is a number of Christ consciousness. It's also a number of great shifting change. I kind of see it as like you're going towards the energy of 8, going beyond the 7, transformation. But 7 is kind of like the big shift that needs to happen to get beyond. And this is exactly the Christ consciousness timeline. Now, the Christ consciousness timeline was activated at the last shift of ages as we moved into the Piscean age. And that's what's so powerful about this sextile is that Jupiter and Saturn, they are the Christmas star when they came together at the time of the birth of Jesus. And so it's like, boom, right? That was a marker saying, this is the beginning of the new story. And Rudolf Steiner talked about how that event created an opportunity for the etheric body of the Christ consciousness, which is basically a direct connection to God consciousness, available in like fused into the etheric body of Earth, we haven't really been able to take this up, right? It's like we've only had one example, what Yeshua Jesus showed us in transmutation, transformation, overcoming the physical body, activating into the light body. Um, so we're kind of there's a group of souls, supernova souls, very connected to this story. And being here at the next shift of ages, right now, this shift of ages means you're probably here at the last shift of ages. And there was actually a whole group of souls that were holding space for hundreds of years before and after that Christ event for this body of Christ to be born. Now we have taken it upon ourselves, supernova souls, to be that body, that we would like to be a part of the next chapter of this incarnation of the etheric Christ through in our own body. So this is what everything in the astrology is speaking to. And Jupiter, Saturn saying, hey, the magic of the Piscean age, we got to go back and get it. But are you worthy of it? What do you mean worthy? You are that magic. We are, high definition, particles of creation having direct access to source right within us. So this is what we're dealing with right now. And so Mars and Venus are playing out this story for us because they're both in Leo. And over this next week, they go back and forth between 3 and 4 degrees of conjunction. But they don't actually come into conjunction. And so it's like this dance, and it makes me think of the pyramid. We don't know exactly the mysteries of the pyramids, but there's the Queen's Chamber or the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber. We come to find out the King's Chamber is actually the Queen's Chamber, right? And a relationship between being in your own chamber but yet amplifying energies together. And this is what's going on for so many powerful soul mates, soul groups, connections between souls. You've worked together so much, you have this deep and profound connection, and yet the energies on the planet to this point have not allowed, in our own programming, past life trauma, has not allowed us to come back together to do this important work. Because we're finding that pyramids were actually like power stations, like literally generating power. And so there's a lot for us to work through to bring that power together. Because when we do, it's exponentially charged and amplified. And it's a field in itself. So we're preparing for this. And it's like this beautiful story of Mars and Venus just dancing around each other in Leo. It's about our expression. It's about bringing forward our God self as an expression into the world. Very powerful energy for supernova souls right now. It's this feeling of like a lot of the deep, dark, emotional stuff that we've gone through is actually connected to the burden that we carry of these gifts that we don't even know we have, but we know we're here for something. And yet everyone around us is constantly invalidating our spiritual truth, This is the karmic trap we've gotten ourselves in. It's like a psychological game. And the only way out is to affirm and confirm that God self. It's like we have to be the temple, light our own light in our temple in order to find each other and be the light. And so we're working on this, and everything is about this because Mars and Venus both in Leo. It's like, what is inside of you? Because we cannot let that. Leo is the energy of the Leo season is about in the story of the archetypal seasonal journey connected with the astrological signs. Leo is the time of the first fruits. It's like when you're beginning to harvest the first fruits. This is the season, and we are those first fruits, supernovas. And we need to harvest and offer what's inside of us because it's rotting on the vine and we cannot allow it to happen. So what's going on is that Mars, over that solstice period of time, which was so powerful, wow, Mars, Black Moon, Lilith activation. And this is like a Kundalini awakening. This is a vibrational frequency, but it's also, where are we scared or have demonized these energies within us. And that the light of who we are spiritually is hidden in the dark inside of us. So Mars, our warrior, it's so cool because Venus and Mars are dancing around each other, both in Leo, but Mars is leading the way and he's holding the door open for the feminine to come back into the light that she is. So Mars, Black Moon Lilith, we're still feeling this for the next couple of days. And then right away, Venus coming in to conjunction with Black Moon Lilith on the 29th. So this is the first of 3 conjunctions that Venus will have with Black Moon Lilith for her retrograde. So we're starting the Venus retrograde. Venus went into retrograde shadow on the 20th of June. So we've had this shift. The solstice energies had Saturn turning retrograde, right? But the magic of the activation of that sextile and knowing that that sextile is coming back in January 2024, as is Pluto getting out of Capricorn for good in this cycle, January 2024. And then it's February 22nd that Venus and Mars finally catch back up in Aquarius for an exact conjunction. So here's our timeline. We're in a gestation period. And so Venus is starting her retrograde story. And this is quite a marker because but Mars is helping her, being like, it's okay. I know it's scary that you felt all alone for so long. And you didn't know if you were going to make it. And it was like, we're still our feminine is like trying to recover from the trauma in order to just move forward in little ways, you know? And so it's really cool that Mars is like, hey, girl, come on, we can do this. The warrior is back at your side because we all want the same thing in the end. And we can't get there without her fountain. And so Mars is in an exact square with Uranus, and then Venus will make that square, and also 3 squares with Uranus for her retrograde. So what we have is over the next couple of weeks, and actually the whole month of July, we've got this energy of these planets in square to Uranus. First, we have Mars through the 2nd of July, we'll be feeling Venus through the 8th of July. And then what really kicks into gear is Black Moon Lilith, who these planets have been going over Black Moon Lilith squaring Uranus. And then Black Moon Lilith comes into that square with Uranus. We're already feeling this, but it's exact for the last week of July. It's like everything's happening the last week of July. Everything is happening the last week of July and the first week of August. It's interesting that Mercury is coming out, just finishing up this retrograde story. Now Mercury is catching back up to the sun for the first, bringing us fireworks to move over into the month of July. But Mercury is cruising right along now. And today, at the end of Gemini, 27 degrees, exact square with Neptune. So it's powerful to have Mars an exact square to Taurus, Mercury an exact square to Neptune. Ooh, so we got a fixed square, we got a mutable square. We also have the Pluto in the nodes, which will be a cardinal square, T-square. So all of the modalities are being represented. And in fact, that's the astrology this week. Every single element planet is involved with this story. And it's saying, take your places. Find your role. Who are you in this? Because you got to get on the train. It's all aboard, right? We got to get on that train. So this is the energy of, it's like everybody's on deck, right? We need everybody in their places. And that's the power of this sun catching back up to Mercury. Because Sun-Mercury conjunction is like brilliancy. It's like, oh, and understanding our bigger role, the expression in our role we want to play here. So a lot of insights can come through, brilliant insights. And it's so powerful the way these things are lining up because the Sun and Mercury, it's interesting always to look at the dance that happens. And this year we had the Sun and Mercury come together on March 21st at 0 degrees Aries, moving over into Aries together for the the equinox, March equinox. And so it's a brand new start for our role in this story. That's what Mercury's the sun is. It's like, well, what's your part? Where's the script? What are we doing? Understanding our role in the bigger picture. And so Sun and Mercury together coming into Aries in March was like, it's a brand new start. So really that was kind of the beginning of the timeline. And actually that would make it like a full 9 months of this timeline adjustment into, the January 2024 would be like a full 9 months. And so our birth period, that's kind of started there. We were rebirthing, and that's the energy of the solstice, like massive timeline alignment, upgrade, downloads, and yet how do we stabilize there, right? How do we own it? How do we, instead of just visiting and being like, oh wow, that's interesting and cool, but then slipping back down into the lower reality, we're like, we're asked to be in that 24/7 vigil for this light in our temple and affirm and reconfirm this connection to God, to source. We are the ones that demonstrate this, that hold the threads and the keys for humanity to make it through this time. You have no idea, supernova soul, what you have been a part of and will be a part of. But this is part of the tricky place that we're at. We're at a place where you can tell, okay, we're turning a major corner. We've got Pluto square the nodes, Venus retrograde, like Black Moon Lilith square Uranus, all of this um, stuff going on all at one time, saying that there's inevitable massive changes coming that we cannot avoid. It's frustrating for those of us who have been aware on different levels of what's going on, we try to figure out what's really going on. Um, and of course, we know we don't know, but some of us seem to be more awake and see through things, right? This is who we are as supernova souls. It defines us because the definition of supernova souls that you've had prior experience before coming into this evolution, earth evolution. You've already gone through ascension. You've already experienced a full range of expression of the human soul. And so you wanted to come and really accelerate the earth school here. And that's what we're doing. But it's frustrating because it feels like it's taking forever. And yet it's written. We don't know the story, but we're starting to see it's written. And the stars are showing us this is a really important time to pay attention to what's going on in astrology. And how it's affecting your birth chart can be really helpful because it's all about coming into your role. And that's this Sun Mercury conjunction. So the second we talked about how they came together, moved into Aries in March. And then in May 2nd, they came together at 11 degrees Taurus after Mercury had turned retrograde. So Mercury's retrograde in Taurus, like figuring out how we can feel worthy of our role, And so that was at 11 degrees, and 11 is a master number, speaking to a whole new portal into a whole new reality, but also facing off against the forces that have been blocking and opposing this forward motion. We're at this sticky place where we're spiritually evolving, and yet the dark paradigms, the dark agendas are showing themselves. It's really important. This has to happen, and so it's weird because humanity is having opportunities to move into these higher frequencies, totally different reality, totally different thing. And yet, are we going to just roll over and what's our role in saying no to this oppression? Are we just gonna be like, oh, whatever, roll over, we'll try again next evolution? It's like, no, we can't do that. We can't give up our baby, our precious Christ child that's being born within each of us. So how do we vibrationally align with that highest timeline? Not get into the black pill of the darkest dark and not ignore it. So it's a very tricky time, but a message is coming in for supernova souls. That's like, if you're one of these, like I know it's been really just we're feeling impatience, especially with Mars and Leo, our warrior, ready to go. And it's like, why is it taking so long for something to happen, to show? that show the energetic changes. We feel the energetic changes, but our world is still going along humdrum, same old, same old corruption, same old lies, same old sleeping humanity walking around, getting more and more disconnected, more and more zombie land. And but it's very powerful because it's like the main idea, and it makes me think metaphorically of homeopathy, classical homeopathy. You're working with the laws of the universe, and basically, um, the role of homeopathy is to bring a person uh, the most direct line to cure. Cure is even a word that they don't want us to think there's even any cures for anything. They want us all stuck in chronic disease. But anyway, so it's another conversation. But on the road to cure, homeopathy is seeking to make the straightest, most harmonized road to cure, right? And so you're looking for that optimal remedy that fits the vibrational signature, like matches the energy and then that energy is the most harmonized, most direct way. This is the exact energy of this timeline alignment, okay? Because we forget that we're a part of a massive organism which has got powerful life force available. And we're taking back this life force. It's been farmed from us, it's been stolen from us, and we're taking it back. Life force, because this is what happens when you get homeopathic remedy that really resonates. It is a message to your body of that most ideal timeline to cure and to health. And so it starts a process, you know, and so the vital force is what heals the body, right? It's the energy, and the remedy is just a message saying, hey, take it into gear. Okay. So this is what's happening right now. Like the solstice energies, what we're feeling, we're getting these impulses, these um, rays and vibrational energies. And it's like that remedy. It's like, boom, boom, triggering the life force. Now, because the timeline, the life force, just like the human body, once it's got the right message, has everything it needs to self correct. The whole point of the vital force is self correcting. That's why we create symptoms. Our body expresses symptoms to show where we're not in harmony. And then that allows you to get the right message to the body to kick into gear with that direct, most efficient, most harmonized way to cure, because it can be a rocky road to heal, because we live in a society of suppression. Right? Everything's suppressed. Go away, go away. You put this, our whole Western medicine system is about suppression, putting it deeper and deeper into the body. And eventually the body says, no more. And then the body will create a massive crisis. And actually, this is kind of the point of the disordering of the immune system that's happening in the modern medicine buckle, is to disorder these messages in the immune system, so that your body can't follow through that direct line. But what happens is so it's like metaphorically, we want to look at this with what we're doing, supernova souls that you don't know you're doing, but the way that you've been vibrationally holding space for the optimal timeline. So is a very important message, it feels like, in understanding, first of all, validating how difficult it is to be aware when everybody else is asleep, because it's a huge psychological burden. And yet you're so powerful and you can handle it. But on the other hand, we have to understand that what's frustrating us the most, and that we're not seeing the evidence of the work that has been done and that's happening. Um, that's that's actually the energy we're bringing. It's taking so long for the shift because we're doing it in the most harmonized fashion, with the least trauma and the least loss of life, right? Because we can't let that trauma timeline continue. So it's like taking so long because it's the most harmonized, optimal way to cure. And so the message is that it's actually, you know, try to be patient with the process, because that's the work we've been doing, is to, like, we don't know we're doing it, but we're harmonizing and supporting that optimal timeline. And we got to get on board with the process and the faith and the hope and the knowledge and the wisdom and the excitement of coming into the feeling of working as a team. We're working as a team, but we're also we've been quarantined, unable to feel. Now the veils, that's part of what's happened over the solstice energy. A few weeks before, it was like the veils opening up where we can start to feel our team, really feel them, really begin to work with them, even though we don't know them yet in this lifetime. We really know them well in other lifetimes, and we all have a team. We came in pods. It's part of the defining story of supernova souls too. We came in groups. It's like show pictures like a comet coming and dropping off a group of souls that's got this starseed energy of this blessing and a gift for something to grow on Earth to help humanity get out of the trap of these lower timelines. So, of course, we had to get into the trap ourselves, but we're climbing our way out of the abyss. And this is definitely the energy. Like we've got all this light coming in, we've got all these changes, we've got all this. But then we have a whole month of squares just when we start feeling the Mars square Uranus on solstice day on the 21st. Okay. So from the 21st through August 1st, so about 6 weeks. And we'll feel that that's the exact end of the exact black moon Lilith square Uranus. But it's like, so we've got the energy of squares with Uranus for the next 6 weeks. And so what is this saying to us? First Mars, then Venus, then the big one, which is black moon Lilith square Uranus. And so Mars and Venus are triggering this, and then Venus is going to retrograde and go back over, and the whole story will play out. So we'll be paying attention to that. But a month, 6 weeks of squares to Uranus and Taurus. So this is the crux of the issue. At the same time as Pluto square the nodes and Venus retrograde, and so we're looking at what is keeping us. The same thing we started talking about with Uranus and Taurus. We're finally understanding what this is about. Uranus and Taurus, it's about the embodiment. Taurus is embodiment, coming into form, incarnating, manifesting the light on Earth, higher frequencies that are ours. We've already worked with these frequencies. Uranus has such an interesting symbol astrologically because all the other symbols have the circle kind of representing the human soul, and then different parts of that symbol. Uranus has the circle representing the human soul at the bottom, and then this very interesting kind of almost like a container above, and that's like our higher self, our future self, our ancient wisdom, all the Akashic records. It's all right there. The Ark of the Covenant. It's all right there, but can we access it? Is it ours? Wait, is it really there? Because we've been so blocked with like implants and frequencies and uh, all these things that have tried to interfere with the activation of our pineal gland, and that's how we access that information. So with Uranus in um, in Taurus, this is like, because Taurus is our self-worth and our value. And so it's like our self-worth, our permission, our havingness, or our higher frequency self, our higher self, our bigger self. And this full month of squares of Uranus is saying it's time to embody that shit, right? What's in the way? What's in the way? What's hidden in the dark? It keeps you still feeling completely unworthy of your abundance. And of course, this is often our feminine side. That's where Black Moon Lilith in Leo, the deepest, darkest hidden secrets that are keeping the feminine from shining, in exact square to that Uranus. We're finding permission to embody the light that we are. And getting that part of ourselves that feels, it's like that high priestess begging for crumbs, get her out of the dungeon once and for all. And that's what this Venus retrograde journey is about. And it's interesting because it's like there's this whole thing of our feminine kind of feeling like, somebody please help me, rescue me, and Mars is leading the way and being a torch. But at the same time, it's like, girl, you got to get yourself up. Only you can do it, and finding this empowerment of of like taking back all her power that she's continued to give away, right? It's like her feminine's been trained to be codependent, to overgive, to not have boundaries. And supernova souls often find themselves being like, go through a situation and then look back at like something that played out and it's like, how did that happen? They just, once again, I was naive and allowed these energies in, and they just raped me blind of all my power in that moment. And I just let it happen. Like, la la la. Here's another situation, same old shit. When is she going to get some balls and stand up and say, no more? Get out of my house. Because it's interesting because with this Christ consciousness timeline activated, we're looking at that point. This Pluto square the nodes really has an energy, and the exact of the Pluto square the nodes will be from the 18th of September through the 4th of August. So last 2 weeks, 1st of July, first week of August. And so, we're at that place. Pluto square the nodes seems it's like the flipping of the tables, and it makes us think in the story, the metaphor, what's written, that there was that time, the moment when Yeshua went into the temple and started going ballistic, because it was like they're gambling, they're taking advantage of each other in the house of God, which is exactly a metaphor of what's happening on our beautiful, precious earth right now, and it's getting so obvious and it's everywhere. The darkness, the corruption, the satanic cannibal crap, and it's like, oh, and this is where we say, wait a minute, we're not rolling over on this one, right? Get out of my house. And is it the feminine that has to do it this time? Is it the feminine? Is it the Christ consciousness embodied in that, like going to save Mary Magdalene, within us? She has to be the one this time that flips the tables, because that's the other message that's coming through. Because Mercury and sorry, I'm going all over the place. This is the Gemini energy blooming. But Mercury and the Sun coming together for this third conjunction this year is what happens on the 1st of July, sending us over with this brilliant realization into the month of July, into the 4th of July holiday, into our claim for freedom. And it happens in Cancer. So this is saying that the brilliancy, the understanding of the role that we're here to play in expressing our true self has to do with nurturing the mother and basically bringing humanity back home to mother. And how can we do that if we ourselves don't feel worthy of her love? So Sun and Mercury, wow. And so this is quite a powerful, and it's showing us, so going back to the Uranus in Taurus being so activated, because it's like, oh, this is what Uranus and Taurus is about. And that is because Jupiter will be approaching Uranus at the same time this summer, and kind of like when all this other shit's going on, right? It was like, because Jupiter and Taurus is now like, okay, this is what Uranus and Taurus is about. And Jupiter's trying to expand us into our wealth. And so the deservedness, the havingness, the landing home of our body, our bigger self, our spiritual self, fully embodied. That's what this next few months is about too. This gestation period that seems to, now we've got a timeline started about March's equinox and going to go, that would be the 9-month cycle, would go to solstice. And that's just before we have that shift in January 2024. So we're in the womb, we're working it out, establishing that higher timeline, and we're preparing ourselves for the year to come when we step into these roles. And the Mercury Sun conjunction is like, hey, this is way bigger than you imagined. No wonder your life's been so fucked up, It's like, but listen to this, because Sun and Mercury coming together. So this is on the 1st of July. Next is that on next Saturday. Um, this is the Sun and Mercury, right when they come together, they'll be interacting with this sextile. So when we have like Jupiter and Saturn and our bigger moving planets that are the generational story game, we don't feel them as much until our personal planets, our everyday planets, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, come into interaction. So it's this Mercury Sun conjunction is activating this next installment of the Christ consciousness timeline and helping us establish this into place and bringing it home in our personal life. Because the Sun and Mercury in Cancer making a sweet trine with Saturn in Pisces. So our role in bringing humanity home, it's all about reclaiming that dream of Earth, reworking, rewriting the Piscean age. Because wait a minute, we've been clearing the energies of persecution and trauma. But we've gotten the message that in order to move over to the Aquarian age, we must reclaim the magic and miracles. And so we pave the way. And so we prepare the manger and we light the light in the temple. So, so then that means also, since they're interacting with this sextile, that Mercury and the Sun will be in also sextile to Jupiter. And so that is very powerful. And this is at 8 to 9 degrees, around 8 degrees. And so this is a very beautiful picture of like, well, Saturn's retrograde, we're going to rewrite this story. We got to go reclaim the magic, but we are moving into this new timeline. And the new timeline activates when we have that brilliant revelation of who we really are and our role in bringing humanity back home and coming back home ourselves, really. So that's incredibly powerful and coming right there. So that all peaks out. That goes from the first trine, Sun trine Saturn, the 29th. And so basically this whole weekend coming up, moving into the 4th of July energy in the US is this activation of the Sun and Mercury together and trine Saturn and sextile Jupiter. So that's like from the 29th to the 2nd of July. And so be ready to receive your role. This is all aboard the train. You have a seat here. You're alive. You made it. You're breathing. I know sometimes it feels like every day we're fighting on a cellular level. We are. We are fighting on a cellular level, the devil inside right now. On the other hand, you're here. You made it. You're breathing. And so it's like, okay, we didn't just go through this to go through this. We went through this so we could play our role. And it's like the train's leaving and you got to get on and you got to find your seat. You got to find your place. You got to get into gear with your role. And that's really going to come into manifestation next year. But we have to prepare now because we're nowhere close to being ready to fully stepping on the stage of who we are. And that's what this is about. It's like, are you here right now? You've been totally harassed for lifetimes and you made it. You're here to usher in. It's like part of the deal with the attack and targeting that supernova souls have felt is just showing you how powerful you are. It's like until you own your power, we're going to show you, force you to say, oh, this is why I've been so messed with, right? And now we take our places and say, oh, okay, I made it through. That means I actually have a very specific role. I got to figure that out, prepare and ground out, right? We've got to become stabilized if we're going to be able to support humanity in the next chapter. And so that is a lot of the Taurus energy too. Jupiter and Taurus is like, okay, our frequency, vibrations, embodiment of who we really are, but grounding and stabilizing, right? Because if we can't find that foundation and that deep connection to the mother, then we are not going to be able to help anybody, right? And so it's like, this is part of us going within and being like making sure that we're lighting the temple and holding that sacred space of the temple, not letting the dogs come in and ruin our beautiful peace, right? Like, get out. Not on my watch. You are no longer welcome. And just feel the empowerment that comes from that. So you might be having opportunities show up where you could stand up for yourself in a way that you've never been able to. And this is a powerful activation because the 26th today is this exact square with Mercury square Uranus. And because, Neptune in Pisces. Mercury's cruising right along, so it's very quick. It's only for a couple of days. We're only going to feel it through the next 48 hours or whatever, 26th, 27th. But it's really, really important because it's the voice that we've lost. When we didn't stand up, when we allowed ourselves to be rolled over, when there weren't enough of us to hold the light. Now there's so many of us. They don't even know what to do. They've tried everything. All their cards are played and their money is running out. So on to the next chapter. And that's what everything is saying. Let's get on with this story. So it's very powerful that, so this week is moving into square Uranus, Venus exactly conjunct Black Moon Lilith, triggering this, feeling Black Moon Lilith. Now, but this is the other thing. So we talked about the squares with Uranus and Black Moon Lilith coming into square with Uranus, really intense energy around delving into the darkest secrets that have kept us from being able to shine our spiritual light collectively. The Black Moon Lilith is personal in our birth chart, but it's also collective. So, and very much speaks to our soul groups. But Black Moon Lilith is in an exact trine with Chiron right now. So we've got this square, but then the trine with Chiron. And so that means also Venus and Mars will make the trine with Chiron. Mars makes an exact trine with Chiron on the 23rd. And then Venus's exact trine with Chiron will be on the 29th, the same day as the conjunction, of course, with Black Moon Lilith, because they're in the exact trine. So here we got a fire trine, and this fire trine is exact through the last week of June and the first week of July. And it's harmonizing. It's like a nice, slow, smoldering fire, perfect to cook your food on. It's not too crazy, and yet it's not going out. It's never going out again. Okay, we are stoking the creative fires. Once we hook back in, we'll never want to give it up. This is coming back to your offering. What is the fire that's smoldering inside of you? It's like burning you at the stake because you won't share it with the world because you don't even know it's yours or if you deserve it or how to bring it. This is what we're in. We're in the laboratory. We're in the temple. We're turning our light on. We're turning the fires back on. Don't let that fruit rot on the vine. We need you. We need your offering. You're here. You're with us. Okay. And so that's kind of the energy there. And this sweet and profound, beautiful fire trine harmonizing everything and saying, it's cool. It's like, just it's like the jump start, right? It's the fire under our butt to move into and establish in the next chapter. And so very supportive. And Chiron is our deepest wounds over where we've given our life force away, where we compromised our life force, where we've compromised the ideal vision of what the human can be. That's what's held in the conceptual fire of Aries. Conception, that incarnation power, the seed sprouting. So this is really important energy for us because the nodes of the moon will be moving into Aries and Libra, right? So we had this whole Libra or Aries explosion with Jupiter in Aries and Chiron in Aries over this last year. And now North Node in Aries. So when the nodes switch signs, it's another timeline marker, And the fact that that's happening right when Pluto square the nodes and Venus retrograde and Black Moon Lilith square Uranus and everything else. It's very powerful. So the North Node in Aries this is a big chapter for supernova souls. It really fits the work that we're being shown is our next step, activating those fires within this perfect image of what man can become. I am. that where this lives and breathes. That's how we get the magic of the Piscean age. And so the North Node is how are we going to get to where we're going? The North Node, the nodes moved into Taurus and Scorpio in January of 2021. 2022. Sorry. So they spend a year, almost a year and a half in a sign. So the last year and a half has been about Taurus and Scorpio. And now the game is changing. It's the next chapter. Everything's saying that. And then Pluto square the node says we got to flip the tables. We got to turn the tide. We got to say no more. And so that'll be a very powerful shift for us at the nodes moving into these signs, because the North Node, how are we going to get to where we're going? And Aries, the perfected, the pure, the image of the I am, the fire of creation. That's the only way. South Node, Libra, what's keeping us back from the past? Relationships. So we've already talked through this in this video, right? Where we compromised ourselves and where we get harmed and used and abused and cast aside again and again. Oh, whatever. That's just, you know. And then also where we haven't been able to have healthy relationships, because all we've known is karmic control-based relationships. We've got to completely rewire, reprogram, and re-educate ourselves about how to have a relationship, because we're preparing to come together. We're lighting that light in our temple so that we can find each other. But we first must do this and establish this. And as you even have that intention, you'll begin to feel palpably. It's so wild. I mean, think about this. Your core group of souls that you've worked together through this evolution again and again, that like family feeling, soul brothers and sisters, you don't know them. Most likely you don't know them yet. You might know one or two, or you might have a sense. And this very interesting time, because the destiny, the unavoidable, nothing can stop what's coming, means we come back together and we amplify our light and we create that field. Now we got to establish our own light first, right? And it's like, so that can help you keep focused and energetically in alignment. The joy and the discovery process and celebration of supernova souls going back into their pod and activating. Because it's like, what I've seen is that these groups of souls, and we have kind of concentric groups of different sizes, but that inner group, right? You guys had a real important mission together. And when you did, it was rare sometimes in the recent Earth evolution to be able to have permission to come work together. But when you did, that's when the sparks fly. And this is again and again, we've been seeing that 2 or more. When 2 supernova souls come together, there's a field created, and it's like automatically protects itself and is like its own planet, its own realm. This is how we build our new world. And yet we have no idea who these people are or what role we're beginning to play or what's really going on. And yet it's all we care about. It's like their most precious past life experiences or when we were working together with this team. So keep your eye on the prize of that joy and the blessings that are coming as we light our temple light and begin to find each other, and just be present with it. It's already happening. If it's nothing can stop it, you guys from coming together, then it's already happening. You're already so close you can't see each other. And that's what Mars and Venus are doing, dancing around each other. At the same time, conjuncting Black Moon Lilith, activating the energetic frequencies, the Kundalini. And then where's the dark shadow of that that's been keeping us from coming into our full power? And square Uranus, our self-worth for it, for the embodiment. And also Uranus is speaking to how do we embody it? And what can we do to take care of ourselves and support that? So incredibly powerful time. I'm so honored to be here with you. Don't forget this light at the end of the tunnel, and just why not just be that light? Why not live? Can we give ourselves permission with this timeline boost, this jump, this bump we just got, to establish there and be in the incredible abundant gift of what's coming already? and live in that. And for you, the abundance is a team working together, doing amazing things. You've already planted the seeds again and again, lifetime after lifetime. And you're not going to know exactly your role, though, until you come together with your group. So this is what we're figuring out in this period of gestation, flipping the tables of claiming back on a cellular level permission for the God source light to be in our bodies, right? So this is what we're doing. Not in my house. It's like nanotech, implants, invasion, infiltration. We've all of us have been exposed and taken it on. Out. Not in my house, because I represent. I feel now the vibration of the true earth dream, and I represent that. And you have no place here. Out. So this is where we're at, and giving ourselves permission to inhabit our own house, you know? So I'm so glad that you are here and that you've gone through all you've gone through. You're living and breathing. You made it. Let's get on with it, right? Still some trauma healing to do, still some darkness to overcome, right? We've got to be pushed into that point where we do say no more. And humanity has to have their role too. We're all being given an opportunity to fight for our freedom. Because how can we receive the abundance of who we are, which is the natural result of clearing authority contracts and saying, I'm sovereign, I'm the power here. And you got to take back your power. You got to own your power. You got to deserve your power, you know? So we're being prepared for this. And one of the other things that's happening is that as Mercury moves over into Cancer, this happens on the 28th in just a couple of days, Mercury will be making a very powerful, we'd have a loose kite going on. We could look at the kite, the nodal axis of the kite, as the south node in Scorpio, north node in Taurus, or and the north node in Taurus, as the sun just went over this point, and then as Mercury goes over it, we've got Saturn then is 7 degrees, moving to 6 degrees, back to 6 degrees this week. But it's like we have a loose height in the sky, with a grand water trine between Saturn and Pisces, Scorpio, South Node, and the Sun, and Mercury and Cancer. So this is a very loose kite that just is kind of coming into form. It's almost like that dance, that flirtation between masculine and feminine, Venus and Mars. It's like, oh, I think I see something out there, coming into form. Kite, the train, like we're going to get on it. We're going to fly away, our magic carpet, we're going to finally inhabit our world our way. So that's very powerful, just kind of putting that all together with the Sun Mercury conjunction interaction at the exact time with this sextile Jupiter. So this is the week that you can see, understand the magic that's just been bestowed upon us. And may we feel worthy of those abundant blessings that come as we claim our sovereignty and make room in our house for ourselves and for what's in alignment, instead of playing host on the cellular level to the devil, is kind of what we've been battling with. So there may be some powerful insights that come through around how to heal your body with the earth, energies of earth. With the Sun and Mercury in Cancer, we're looking at our relationship to the mother and our relationship to earth. So we can learn and teach and exchange energies with the earth as a way to anchor these frequencies in our body. So look out for insights and support, self-care, ways that you can support yourself in this time. A beautiful and profound and beautiful week where we do receive the blessings of this sextile. So be open, be that cup, be the Holy Grail, and be completely present in your temple, lighting the fires, and be ready to receive this brilliant revelation of who you are and your role in this chapter. All aboard. So thank you so much, Supernova Souls, for your support, being a part of the Supernova Soul Tribe. For $10 a month, you get a weekly video update, and there's monthly Q&As and a lot of support for Supernova Souls. And for $20 a month for the Supernova Gold, that's access to both the new and full moon activation each month and live sharing circle after. So thank you so much for your support. And there's also a link to a donation page if you'd like to make an offering and not be a part of the group in that way. So we're all together. There's nothing that. So I really appreciate your energy, your attention, your offering of being here, listening to this video, getting on board, getting online. So these powerful pods of bright, beautiful souls can find each other. Maybe we're getting back on our comet, and that's how we ride the dragon into this season. So thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.